Many thanks for staying with us. You're watching the Global News in Atlantic Television Network. And now to the details of the stories. Rivers State House President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in the state. This was contained in a statement issued by the Speaker of the House, Martin Amewule. Amewule said the Assembly would abide by the President's decision, even though it was not what they had. The Speaker blamed Governor Siminalayi Fubara for the crisis in Rivers State, accusing him of ignoring court judgments and failing to govern in line with the Constitution. Amewule called on residents to remain calm and cooperate with the sole administrator appointed by the President to oversee the affairs of the state. The Speaker also thanked the people of the state for their patience, prayers and support during this period of emergency. Ngozi Odu and all elected members of the State House of Assembly for 6 months. He said the decision was taken to restore stability in the state that has been witnessing political turmoil as a result of the disagreements between the state governor and the state lawmakers. Following his declaration, the President appointed the former Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral Iborite Ibas, as an administrator for Rivers State. Conflicts while speaking on Atlantic Television Network program Open Conversation, Equilor emphasized that the President can declare a state of emergency under Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution, but he cannot suspend governors or other government officials, noting that the Constitution applies equally to all persons and authorities, regardless of position or authority.
Is supreme, and is binding on all authorities and persons.
Okay.
That is to say, including the leaders and the led.
Okay.
Everybody are subject to the provisions of the 1999 Constitution. Nobody, no matter how highly placed, it's above the law. The President is within the law to declare a state of emergency in the interest of public order and safety and peace and security. The President has the right under Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution to declare state of emergency, but the President does not have the powers under that same section of the Constitution that allows him to declare state of emergency to suspend an elected sitting governor and also suspend an elected members of the House of Assembly. He does not possess. Section 4 went ahead to say that the National Assembly can take over the function of a House of Assembly in the event where it is obvious that the Assembly cannot sit. The National Assembly can legislate on behalf of that particular state in question.
Recall that President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu for 6 months. He also suspended all elected members of the House of Assembly of Rivers State and nominated Vice Admiral Iborite Ibas, retired, as administrator to take charge of the affairs of the state. Analysts has posited that the real reason behind the conflict between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and the House of Assembly members remains unclear, leading him to suspect a hidden agenda. Speaking on Atlantic Television Network program Atlantic Blowout, public affairs analyst Comrade Chuba Opuzo questioned the alleged gross misconduct by the governor that prompted impeachment proceedings.
And the 27 House of Assembly members on the 23rd of November 2023. Till date, the Rivers people are yet to know the exact thing that transpired. If anybody does know that, I think it should be brought to the fore. Before they talked about the governor being they want the assembly members intending to impeach the governor. We must ask ourselves this very all-important question: what really that is yet to be settled? On top of that, the governor that seems like it is the victim has not at any point in time come out to say, in the course of my findings, these were the reasons why the House of Assembly intended to impeach me earlier on, upon which I have made corrections, upon which I was not faulted, or I was not faulty. So the truth remains that it cannot be overemphasized. This is the purpose.
Okay,
However,
he added that the governor has demonstrated a lack of assertiveness, failing to showcase the necessary leadership skills, capacity, and strength required for the role.
nobody follows a Lilliput. And whether you like it or yes, the governor was not showing capacity, strength, and leadership as it ought to be. We are in a country where we have seen what is happening. We have not declared state of emergency, even in far northern Nigeria, where people, look, children were completely, 300 and how many, 65 or how many children were packed up from Chibok. Outside of that, we have seen Boko Haram almost run amok communities. But because legislative processes must be observed, these places were not even at that produces well over 30 to 40% of the country's revenue. And because one or two persons feel disgruntled and something has transpired now, and instead of good reason to come into play for people to sit on the round table and work out a lasting solution, the next thing is a state of emergency. Is it that all that is important about the Niger Delta is the resources that is here and that can be extracted? Is that all that it is to the Niger Delta? But where people, governors have even gone into the
Bayelsa State Governor Doye Diri has warned that anyone who breaks the state's anti-grazing law will face a serious punishment. Diri said this is to protect the lives and property of the people. The governor, represented by his deputy, Senator Lawrence Kurejakpo, spoke on Wednesday at Government House, Yanagwa. He met with local government chairman, traditional rulers, and community leaders from 6 areas affected by herdsmen. He explained that the law was made to prevent violent clashes between herders and farmers, which have caused deaths and destruction in different parts of the country. Diri condemned recent reports of a woman from the Amarata community in Yanagwa being raped by some herders in her farm and another woman being killed in Obuya. He urged traditional rulers and local government chairmen to take control of their areas and enforce the law to maintain peace. The governor also called on youth leaders, community development committees, and women leaders to be alert and report any security threats to the authorities. Diri instructed all local government chairmen to form enforcement committees for the anti-grazing law and submit the names of committee members within 3 days to the office of the secretary to the state government. Delta State chapter of the People's Democratic Party has summoned an emergency meeting with political aides to Governor Sheriff Oborevwori following a wave of defections to the All Progressives Congress. Over 5,000 PDP members, including Senator Nat Woko, Eriatake Ibori Suenu, former House of Representatives member Nicholas Osai, Chief Grade Oveje Ogboru, former Commissioner Chika Osai, and Dr. Chris Okoba recently dumped the party for the APC, citing internal crisis and accusing the governor of high-handedness. Sources say some of the governor's key allies, particularly those instrumental to his 2023 election victory, are also considering leaving the party, prompting the PDP leadership to convene the meeting in a bid to contain the situation. In a statement on Wednesday in Asaba, the state PDP chairman, Solomon Ariyinka, directed all political aides to the governor to attend a meeting scheduled for Thursday at the party's secretariat. The meeting, which will involve the state party chairman and members of the state working committee, is compulsory for all executive assistants, senior special assistants, and special assistants on political matters to the governor. Abia State House of Assembly has passed a resolution urging the state government to approve 21 days paternity leave for male public and civil servants whose wives put to bed to support them in catering for the wives and the new babies. The motion, which generated heated debate on the floor of the House, was later adopted with modification as announced by the Speaker, Emmanuel Emerua. The sponsor of the motion, Mr. Matthias Ume, posited that granting the paternity leave to male civil servants in the state will assist them in providing the much-needed support their wives need during their period of childbirth and in taking care of newborn, as well as enhance parental bonding, among others. He recalled that the federal government had, through the head of service of the federal, approved such through a circular, with some other states across the federation keying into the policy. The motion was notably supported by the Deputy Speaker, Mr. Augustine Okezie, the Majority Leader, Mr. Uchenna Okoro, the member for Ukwa East, Mr. Louis Obianyi, and that of Bende South, Emmanuel Ndubisi, who said it would give a sense of belonging and supports the males as well as better parenting. However, some legislators, including Chijioke Uruakba, Mr. Boniface Isenyi, Mr. Solomon Akpulonu, Mandela Obasi, all oppose the motion based on the unproductivity of dichotomy it may create between those in the public and private sectors. Some constituents of Kogi Central Senatorial District have initiated a recall process against Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, citing a vote of no confidence in her representation. The recall process witnessed in Okehi local government area on Wednesday saw a large number of electorates on the queue to register their supports for the recall process. One of the electorates, Nora Ibrahim, said the exercise has been carried out beyond party lines because of the growing dissatisfaction among constituents with Akpoti-Uduaghan's performance, particularly in addressing key issues like poverty, infrastructure, and education. The recall process is expected to take 2 days across all polling units in the 5 local governments of Kogi Central. During this time, constituents will be required to sign a petition calling for the senator's recall. ATN reports that a petition for recall of a lawmaker shall be presented to the chairman of the commission by representatives of the petitioners, having notified the members sought to be recalled in writing of the receipt of the petition. According to INEC's regulations and guidelines for a recall, such notification shall be delivered to his or her official address, and the presiding officer of the applicable legislator will be copied and published on the Commission's website. Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf has directed all 4 emirates to commence preparations for the Salah Doba celebration to ensure the citizens and visitors enjoy the festive period. The governor also disclosed that the Kano State Emirate Council will be inaugurated in April this year to enable it to function effectively. This directive was contained in a statement by the governor's spokesperson, Sanusi Tofa, on Wednesday. According to the statement, the governor gave the directive during a Ramadan breakfast meeting with the emirs held at the Ante-Chamber Government House, Kano, on Tuesday. Here, Yusuf further revealed that the council's guidelines, ethics, and other crucial components will be communicated in the day of the inauguration. He commended the emirs of the majority and positive relationship they have demonstrated since their appointments, noting that his marks the first time in the state's history that there is such absolute respect among the emirs, particularly in terms of hierarchy. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has given the officials of the Federal Capital Development Authority 1 week to allocate land for resettlement of victims of demolition in Gishiri village. It will be recalled that 455 houses and structures were demolished in the village at Katampe District, Abuja, to make way for a road project. Wike gave the order when he visited the community on Wednesday to resolve the disagreements between the community members and the FCDA over the payment of compensation and relocation of the victims. The community members, during a meeting with Wike on Monday, also complained that the amounts being given to some of the affected persons as compensation was grossly inadequate. To address the issue, the minister promised to visit the area to see things for himself. On arriving at the community on Wednesday, Wike asked the FCDA Director of Land, Mr. Chijioke Nwankwo-Eze, about the land set aside for the relocation of the affected persons. Nwankwo-Eze explained that there were two areas, one a 12-hectare land and 58 plots around Hope for Survival Orphanage. He added that the second resettlement site was 1.7 hectare with 5 plots, located behind local education authority primary school in the community. Reacting, Wike directed him to commence the payment and urged the community to receive the Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, His Excellency Yu Donghai, marking a significant step towards strengthening bilateral relations between Nigeria and China, particularly within the FCT. During the meeting, Barrister Wike highlighted the importance of the existing memorandum of understanding with Chinese companies, especially water projects expect to be significant achievement among other infrastructural developments as Abuja approaches its 50th anniversary next year. Hoping for more cooperation in key areas such as agriculture, vocational schools, with a focus to ICT to help empower the youth, whom he described as the key to the future.
Visited with other African heads of state. I do know that, like you said, there were lots of bilateral talks and to improve the bilateral relationship between Nigeria and China. We as FCT2, we signed a memorandum of understanding between two Chinese companies, the CGC and CCECC.
Right.
CGC is to carry out the satellite water development, while CCECC and CGC, we have to share the city to lit up Abuja, because we found out that most of the street lights we have are being vandalized or stolen, and we had to reach an agreement to put the type of street light that will have a strong room, that if you want to vandalize or you want to steal, we'll notice it in the strong room. And so that is a procurement process now is going on. And then, like you said, the water thing too is very important. So, Mr. President believes that this has to be done, particularly that Abuja will be 50 by next year. So the government is open to celebrate the Jubilee year for the government, for the territory.
Barrister Wike assured the ambassador of the improved security situation in the FCT that will create a conducive environment for Chinese businesses and residents, reaffirms committed to providing the necessary support for Chinese activities and fostering a strong symbiotic relationship.
In terms of agriculture, it's very key. We have very good land for whatever kind of farm. So it will interest us much if we can partner on that. And then the vocational school, particularly as it relates to ICT. So like I said, the youth is key. If we must move forward, education is key and the youth is key. So these are two very areas I would like us to cooperate, partner together and see what we can do to be a symbiotic relationship. So once we thank you, and you can attest the security situation here now, and you can see that a lot of improvement. It is within us to provide enabling ground for you to carry out your businesses and relate with other people. So we're happy for a visit. We believe we continue to relate with each other, continue to partner so as to improve our relationship. China and Nigeria is already in good terms, but just to improve on it. So once more, you are welcome.
The Chinese ambassador in his remarks expressed pleasure at the visit and reiterated his commitment to deepening bilateral relations, emphasizing high-level political trust, development cooperation, mutual learning, and security assistance. He also noted the ongoing efforts to enhance people-to-people exchanges, including the establishment of China corners in FCT high schools. Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Kaduna State Command has recovered 20 railway sleepers and a vehicle from vandals in Urugwang, Sunday, Chikun local government areas of Kaduna State. The Commandant, NSCDC Kaduna State Command, NB Mohamedou Dansadao, while briefing newsmen at the NSCDC Kaduna State headquarters, said the suspects took to their heel as soon as they saw the NSCDC personnel. He said the command has taken into custody the vehicle carrying the recovered 20 railway sleepers. The commandant, while assuring residents of the state protection of lives, property, and critical national assets and infrastructure, pleads with the residents of the state to always report suspicious faces and criminals around their environment for immediate arrest and prosecution. Nigerian police force has arrested 3 persons with 30 cartons of codeine syrups and other various hard drugs around Postikum, Yobe State, intended for supply to bandits, Boko Haram insurgents, and kidnappers terrorizing the state and neighboring countries. The Public Relations Officer, Force Headquarters Abuja, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, in a statement said the trio were arrested in February 1, 2025 by operatives of the Force Intelligence Department Special Tactical Squad based on credible intelligence. The suspects include Usman Yahaya, 50 years old, Joseph Matthew, 27 years old, and Solomon Bala, 25 years old, all residents of Postiskum, Yobe State. Adejobi explains that the suspects were apprehended while transporting 30 cartons of codeine syrups and other various drugs around Posticum. He also disclosed that the FIDSTS intercepted one Hawa Sani, a 30-year-old female resident of Doro village along the Kefi Abuja Expressway in possession of 124 rounds of live ammunition of various calibers concealed inside a 5-liter container of palm oil. While you're watching the Global News in Atlantic Television Network, we'll go on a short break. When we return, Global News continues. To stay with us.
Something will come out.
Don't play with me. Fast ball, fast ball. Ah, you know what? You go shot
Bro.
him. Now we got this man.
Keep the banter going with Glow Borrow Me Credit or Data. Dial *303# to borrow airtime or data and pay later.
Is it ready?
Go on, no one Only one thing I did it. Okay.
Power your relentless ambition with ultra-high-speed data. Glow Unlimited.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, We bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Many thanks for staying with us. You're watching the Global News in Atlantic Television Network, and now to see the rest of our stories. Our President Bola Tinubu has sworn in Vice Admiral Ibogete Ibas, retired, as the sole administrator of Rivers State. The administrator was sworn in following a short meeting with the president on Wednesday afternoon. Tinubu announced the appointment of the retired naval chief at a nationwide broadcast on Tuesday, when he declared a state of emergency in Rivers State and suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara, Deputy Governor Ngozi Odu, and the Rivers State House of Assembly members. Tinubu hinged his decision on Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution, saying he can't continue to watch the political situation in Rivers escalate without taking any action. The suspension of Fubara and other democratically elected representatives has been expressly rejected and condemned by many eminent Nigerians, legal luminaries, groups including Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, Femi Falana, the Labour Party, the People's Democratic Party, the Nigerian Bar Association, among others. However, the emergency rule has been praised by the pro-Nyesom Wike Assembly, led by Martins Amewule, accusing Fubara of contravening the Supreme Court's ruling on the political situation in the state. Senate on Wednesday suspended its plenary and announced that the debate on the state of emergency imposed in Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu has been shifted to Thursday. The postponement was announced after the Senate's leadership delayed the commencement of its plenary for about 2 hours when the majority of the 7 senators across party lines had not fully taken their seats. The debate was delayed until 3 p.m. without much explanation when the Senate's leader, Okpeyemi Bamidele, APC Ekiti Central, who sponsored the motion, moved to step it down by citing Order 1B of the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended. The motion was seconded by Minority Leader Abamoro PDP Benue South, and the chamber moved on to the next item without further debate. The motion, as proposed by Bamidele, expresses apprehension over the deteriorating security situation in Rivers State. To approve the declaration, the Senate requires a 2/3 majority, 73 out of 109 senators, to allow the emergency rule to take effect. There was, however, a palpable fear that the House may not meet the requirements on Thursday. Eventually, the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, puts the postponement of the debate and suspension of the plenary to voice vote, which was affirmatively responded to by many of the senators. A federal government on Wednesday said President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State was timely and meant to avert an implosion in the state. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, stated this while briefing State House correspondents at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja. Tinubu had on Tuesday declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, suspending Governor Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy Ngozi Odu, and all elected members of the Rivers State House of Assembly for an initial period of 6 months. In a national broadcast, Tinubu cited prolonged political instability, constitutional breaches, and security threats as reasons for the extraordinary measure. The crisis, which had paralyzed governance in the oil-rich states, stems from a power struggle between Governor Fubara and his predecessor, Nyesom Wike, now the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. As part of the directive, the President also appointed Vice Admiral Ibogete Ibas, retired, as the sole administrator to oversee the state's affairs until normalcy is restored. Ibas served as Chief of Naval Staff from 2015 to 2021 under former President Muhammadu Buhari. Spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Akin Rotimi, says President Bola Tinubu consulted the National Assembly before announcing a state of emergency in Rivers State. Recall that the president on Tuesday declared a state of emergency in Rivers State following the prolonged political crisis in the South state. Tinubu also suspended Fubara, his deputy, and the members of the State Assembly. The president thereafter nominated a retired Vice Admiral Ibogete Ibas as the administrator of Rivers State. In a statement, Rotimi said the National Assembly was duly consulted by the president before reaching the decision. According to him, Tinubu met with the leadership of the National Assembly, including Senate President Godswill Akpabio, Abbas Tajuddin, Speaker of the House, Benjamin Kalu, Deputy Speaker, Michael Bamidele, Senate Leader, and Julius Ihonvere, Leader of the House, and Nuhu Ribadu, National Security Advisor, NSA, before the broadcast. Rotimi said Kayode Igbetokun, the Inspector General of Police, Adeola Ajayi, Director General of the State Security Service, and Mohammed, Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, also attended the meeting. Rotimi added that Tinubu's letter informing the House of Representatives of its decision and seeking approval on the state of emergency in Rivers, in line with Section 305 of the Constitution, has been transmitted to the Green Chamber and would be read during plenary on Wednesday for further legislative action. Well, Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, on Wednesday fingered the suspended governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, for being responsible for the political crisis in the oil-rich state. At a media chat with a State House correspondent in Abuja, the AGF said President Bola Tinubu acted timely with his proclamation of emergency rule in Rivers State. The suspension of the governor and the appointment of a sole administration, Vice Admiral Ibogete Ibas, retired, Fagbemi said Fubara demolished the State House of Assembly complex to avoid being impeached and refused to rebuild it more than 1 year later. The Justice Minister said Fubara failed to implement February 28, 2025 ruling of the Supreme Court and did not caution militants who had threatened to blow pipelines in the state. He said the situation could be allowed to continue as the critical economic lifeline of the nation was criminally touched. Fagbemi also said the emergency rule declaration was some sort of saving grace for Fubara, who has been served impeachment notice. Fagbemi said Wike should not be brought into the matter as he was not responsible for the actions of Fubara, who failed to act in line with the constitutional requirements of getting the approval of the state legislators in the affairs of running the state. Fagbemi advised all those who do not agree with the president's move to channel their energy to the National Assembly to veto the president's decision. People's Democratic Party Governors Forum has advised President Bola Tinubu to reverse the state of emergency declared in Rivers State. The Chairman Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, who made the call in a statement on Wednesday in Abuja, described the declaration of emergency rule in Rivers as unconstitutional, that it was illegal and unacceptable for the president to suspend democratically elected officials of a state. The PDP Governor Forum chairman further said that the president's action would exacerbate the crisis in the nation, deepen mistrust, elevate security threats, and destroy the economy. In a related development, the Nigerian Bar Association has described the emergency rule declaration in Rivers as unconstitutional. The president, Mazi Afam Osigwe, said in a statement on Wednesday that the declaration of emergency rule remained an extraordinary measure that must be invoked strictly within constitutional limits. He urged Tinubu to reverse the declaration in the interest of democracy and the well-being of Rivers people. Our 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has criticized President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, describing it as unconstitutional and reckless. Obi accused Tinubu of disregarding rule of law and showing a dangerous willingness to trample on democracy. Obi asserted that the political situation in Rivers does not justify the emergency rule and the suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy, and state lawmakers. adding that the action is also a biased interpretation of Section 305, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution. He said, a state of emergency does not mean an elected governor can be removed unilaterally. This decision does not align with democratic norms or good governance. Instead, it appears to be a predetermined action serving specific interests rather than the collective good of the people of Rivers State and Nigeria. Obi therefore appealed to the National Assembly and all stakeholders not to allow the emergency rule to stand, saying that the action will deepen the culture of impunity and threatens democracy. Minister of State for Defense Bello Matawalle has expressed his strong support for President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. In a statement on Tuesday issued by the ministry's Director of Information and Public Relations, Matawalle stated that this decisive action is vital for restoring stability to the state's turbulent political landscape. He asserted that the emergency rule is a necessary measure to address the ongoing political crisis which has hindered the delivery of democratic governance and the welfare of the people of Rivers State. Reflecting on the President's address regarding the state of emergency, the minister acknowledged the gravity of the political crisis in Rivers State and the urgent need for intervention. Matawalle highlighted the unfortunate demolition of the House of Assembly by the state governor, which has left the state without a functioning legislature for over 14 months. While the statement added, this action has contributed to the ongoing political impasse and the inability of the government to effectively serve the people. The minister also noted the Supreme Court's recent ruling, which reaffirmed the constitutional necessity of a functioning legislature and condemned the governor's action as unconstitutional. Matawalle further expressed concern over recent reports of vandalism and threats from militants, underscoring the need for a unified effort to restore peace and security. He reiterated that the federal government is committed to ensuring the safety of all citizens and the protection of vital infrastructure in Rivers State. He therefore urged all stakeholders to embrace this opportunity for renewed governance and cooperation and express hope that the state of emergency will pave the way for a peaceful and democratic Rivers State, benefiting all its residents. Ruling All Progressives Congress has thrown its weight behind President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, saying the suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara asked for the emergency rule. APC spokesman Felix Moka in a statement listed that many impeachment offenses of Fubara, noting that through his actions and inactions, he brought the state of emergency on Rivers. According to him, the suspended governor is the author of the extreme events that have unfolded in Rivers State. He added that the Fubara brazenly demolished the Rivers State House of Assembly. He destroyed the very foundation of democracy in the state. Moka said that when Fubara governed the state without a legislature, he effectively ended government in the state. He stressed that by expending state funds without valid legislative appropriation, Fubara stripped himself of all constitutional protections of the office of governor. Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention on Wednesday confirmed 563 Lassa fever cases out of the 2,960 suspected cases of the disease and 103 deaths as of March 9, 2025. The situation report of the hemorrhagic fever for week 10 also showed that the disease was spread to 14 states and 78 local government areas with a case fatality ratio of 18.3%. The confirmed cases were reported in Ondo with 175, Bauchi with 139, Edo 98, Taraba 84, Ebonyi has 17, Kogi with 15, Gombe 11, Plateau 10, Benue 5, Nasarawa 3, Delta 2, Cross River 2, Enugu 1, and Anambra 1. Well, Lassa fever, a disease that spreads during the dry season in Nigeria, is an animal-borne or zoonotic acute viral illness spread by the common African rat, also known as the Mastomys rat species. It said 73% of all confirmed Lassa fever cases were reported from Ondo, Bauchi, and Edo, while 27% were reported from 11 states with confirmed Lassa fever cases. It's added that of the 73% confirmed cases, Ondo reported 31%, Bauchi 25%, and Edo 17%. It's revealed that the predominant age group affected is 21 to 30 years. Range 1 to 94 years, median age 30 years. The male to female ratio for confirmed cases is 1:0.8. It said the number of suspected cases decreased compared to that reported for the same period in 2024. Well, now we move on to business news. Our federal government has commissioned Nigeria's first modular liquefied petroleum gas extraction plant and a 20 megawatts gas to power project. The projects were commissioned by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Right Honorable Ekpo at the Otakipo field in Rivers State. In a post on his official X account, the minister stated the projects were developed by Green Energy and Lek Oil Joint Venture JV, marking a significant milestone in the country's gas sector. The newly inaugurated projects are expected to boost Nigeria's domestic gas utilization, enhance energy access, and contribute to economic growth in the region. Before the official commissioning, the JV management led the minister on a tour of the key facilities, including the power plant, LPG extraction plant, early production facility, and a land terminal, the first to be built by an independent company in Nigeria. Commending the JV for its efficient execution of the projects, Ekpo highlighted the strategic use of local resources and the importance of community collaboration. He also acknowledged the peaceful coexistence between the host communities, traditional rulers, and the operating companies, which contributed to the timely completion of the projects. The Central Bank of Nigeria has projected a gradual drop in inflation rate over the next 6 months. This is contained in its newly released report on inflation expectations for February 2025. Well, according to reports, business and household respondents expect the level of inflation to gradually reduce over the next 6 months. The respondents also anticipated lower spending as the expenditure gradually decreased over the next 6 months. Further analysis by income distribution indicated that more households earning above 200,000 naira per month perceived inflation to be moderating, driven by factors such as energy costs, exchange rate, transportation costs, interest rate, and insecurity influenced their perception of the inflation rates in the month under review. The Apex Bank, however, said 65.1% of respondents want a reduction in interest rates by the financial institution. This is as the National Bureau of Statistics in its Consumer Price Index reports for March said the inflation rate for February dropped to 23.18% year-on-year in February 2025, reflecting a second consecutive monthly decline from the 24.48% recorded in January. Financial services sector in the Nigerian exchange closed with a total market capitalization of 9.49 trillion naira, driven by performances from banking stocks, particularly Guarantee Trust Holding Company PLC, Zenith Bank PLC, and Access Holdings PLC. Guarantee Trust Holding Company PLC emerged as the most valuable financial institution with a market capitalization of 2.07 trillion naira, trading at 60.50 naira per share. It was followed by Zenith Bank PLC, which recorded a market capitalization of 1.96 trillion naira, with its share price closing at 47.75 naira, reflecting a 0.42% increase. Access Holdings PLC also maintained its strong market position with a capitalization of 1.24 trillion naira, despite a 0.64% decline in its share price to 23.20 naira. Similarly, United Bank for Africa PLC recorded a market capitalization of 1.21 trillion naira, with its stock trading at 35.50 naira, reflecting a 2.61% decline. First Bank Holdings PLC had a market capitalization of 1 trillion naira as its shares price closed at 27.90 naira, representing a 2.28% drop. Fidelity Bank PLC, however, showed resilience, recording a market capitalization of 843.57 billion naira, with its share price appreciating by 1.19% to 16.80 naira. Meanwhile, Wema Bank PLC saw a 4.19% drop in its share price to 10 naira. 30. With a market capitalization of 220.73 billion naira, Unity Bank PLC, which recorded no trading activity, maintained a market capitalization of 17.65 billion naira. Dangote Petroleum Refinery has announced a temporary halt in the sale of petroleum products in naira, citing an imbalance between its sales proceeds and crude oil purchase obligations, which are dominated in US dollars. The announcement was conveyed in a statement issued on March 19, 2025, where the company explains that its naira. Nigeria's total debt service payments dropped to $276 million in February 2025 from $540 million recorded in January 2025. This is according to the Central Bank of Nigeria's latest data on external sector payments. Released recently showed that debt serving payments declined by $264 million or 48.88%. This decline comes despite the ongoing efforts by the federal government to restructure its debt portfolio, improve dollar liquidity, and its pressure on the foreign exchange market. You're still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is International Tidbits. Well, U.S. President Donald Trump sharply escalated his conflicts with the judiciary on Tuesday with a call for the impeachment of a federal judge who ordered the suspension of high-profile deportation flights of alleged illegal migrants. The White House has been critical of federal district as personally called for a judge's impeachment since he took office in January. Federal judges are nominated by the president for life and can only be removed by being impeached by the House of Representatives for high crimes or misdemeanors and convicted by the Senate. Impeachment of federal judges is exceedingly rare, and the last time a judge was removed by Congress was in 2010. Shortly after Trump's message, a Republican lawmaker from Texas, Brandon Gill, said next that articles of impeachment would be introduced in the House very soon. District Judge James Borsbeck ordered a suspension over the weekend to the deportation flights taking alleged members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua to prison in El Salvador. The White House invoked little-used centuries-old wartime legislatures known as the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 as legal justification for the move. UK teenager who killed 3 family members and planned to outdo notorious US massacres to become the world's most famous school shooter of the 21st century was in Wednesday jail for a minimum of 49 years. Nicholas Prosper, 18 years old at the time of the killings, used a shotgun to kill his mother, Juliana Falcon, 48, sister Giselle, 13 years old, and brother Carl, 16 years old, who Prosper told police upon his arrest of his Friday the 13th plan to also kill dozens of 4- and 5-year-old pupils and 2 teachers at a nearby primary school that he had previously attended than himself. And here now is ATN Sports News. Media officer of the Rwanda Football Association, FEWAFA, Olivia Morris, says it is important for the Amavubi to stop Victor Osimhen. Osimhen will lead Nigeria's attack in Friday's 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying match day 5 encounter. The 26-year-old has been in fantastic form for Turkish Super League champions Galatasaray this season. The forward has registered 26 goals and 5 assists in 30 matches across all competitions for the Yellow and Reds. Morris emphasized the importance of curtailing Osimhen. Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen has been included in Manchester United's 4-man striker shortlist for the summer transfer window as the Premier League giants look to bolster their attacking options. The Red Devils are expected to delve into the transfer market to bolster their forward options after seeing Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund struggle to find the best form this season. Zirkzee has netted just 6 goals in 44 competitive appearances since arriving from Bologna last summer, while Højlund has mustered 8 strikes in 39 matches in all competitions. The past struggles have contributed to Man United's overall difficulty in the final third, having registered just 37 goals in 29 Premier League matches this season, meaning that they have been outscored by 13 teams in the top 5. According to journalist Florian Plettenbach, Osimhen is among 4 strikers that are on Man United's radar ahead of the summer transfer window. Osimhen is currently on loan at Turkish giants Galatasaray, where he has racked up 26 goals in 30 appearances, including 20 strikes in 22 league games, ranking him the current top scorer in the Super League. The Nigerian international is set to return to Napoli in the summer, but he is likely to depart on a permanent basis ahead of the 2025-2026 season. And now we bring you entertainment news. Well, Nigeria's singer Joe Boy has expressed that he dislikes women who talk excessively or seek validation on social media. According to him, those are his deal breakers in relationship. The singer revealed this in a recent interview with Zikoko. On his red flags, he said, if she's always posting for validation or saying, oh, this person is doing this in their relationship, why don't we do this? The singer said he is currently in a relationship, and one of his favorite things about his partner is that she's funny. Renowned Kannywood actor Sadiq Sani Sadiq has stated that his primary goal in the film industry is to earn money, not to educate or instill moral values in people. In an interview with Freedom Radio, the actor emphasized that he does not consider himself a moral teacher or educator through films. He further stated that films have no religion or language, and everything depends on how a filmmaker presents the work. And that's it on the Global News for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Well, we told you that Rivers Assembly backs emergency rule, supports administrator. Police train a school protection squad in surveillance technologies. You also heard that Tinubu swears in Ibas as Rivers sole administrator. On a business, Dangote refinery suspends petrol supply in Naira. And on foreign scene, Trump calls for the U.S. George impeachment of migrant flights. And on sports, Osimhen joins Manchester United's 4-man strikes. Well, that's it on the Global News for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can follow us on our social media platforms, Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. Thank you so much for watching. I am Victor Peter. Do have yourself a good night's rest.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring honest pop news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So